Hi, everybody. Welcome back to the GallowgateShots YouTube and podcast channel. And we are back with another match preview. I'm Scott. I am your host for this one. And this week, I am joined by Kris, Daryl, and Joe. Boys, hope you've all had a lovely Christmas. I hope you're all looking forward to New Year. We're in that, what I like to call the Christmas gooch, where it's that little bit in between that you don't really know what day it is. You're full of turkey. And you've either had too much alcohol or too much food or both, and you're just waiting for New Year. This is, as everybody probably has guessed already, the match preview for the Liverpool game. It is on New Year's Day, 8 p.m. Kickoff at Anfield. I didn't check. Is it on UK TV? I'm going to assume it is for Monday Night Football.
Sky, yeah.
Mm-hmm. There you go. It's live on Sky, so you'll have the likes of Jamie Carragher and what's the other one called? Gary Neville. This is on a mini retirement for New Year to host some lovely punditry. I would imagine not. We'll jump into the preview, but before we do so, here's a little word from our sponsor. The GallowgateShots match preview is brought to you by Magpin. Magpin are the go-to site for high-quality, unofficial enamel pin badges of Newcastle United players, legends and retro kits. For more information, visit their website at magpinbadges.bigcartel.com. Right, so we'll just jump right into this one. Like I said, it's the first game of the new year, on the first day of the new year Is Anfield finished yet? I don't think it is. It's still a building site, so we've got very little allocation. But it's against Liverpool. Kris, they're currently top of the league. They're on a good run. I think it's 12 wins, 6 draws, and only 1 defeat all season. What's your expectations going into this one?
Did you have to go to me first? I just want to put it out there straight away, right? Because probably on the back of this one, people will turn around and say, "Oh, the lads are negative and stuff like that," right? I think we need to address the situation right now. Like you've just said, Liverpool are flying high, top of the table. We are the opposite at the minute. We cannot buy a win. Richest club in the world, and we cannot buy a win. Our away form so far this season has been absolutely diabolical. There's no hiding behind that. I think it's one win away from home, which we've had, which was the high scoring one against Sheffield. I'm not optimistic for this one. I'm not going to lie. I'm not going to sit and put a brave face on. I'm not optimistic, Scott.
Yeah, it's a weird one, isn't it? Because start of the season we played Liverpool early on. We give them a good run for their money. They had a player sent off, Daryl, but it didn't really go our way then. It doesn't normally go our way against Liverpool. They're a little bit of a bogey team for us, even going all the way back to the 90s and probably beyond as well, beyond our time. It's not one that I don't think many Newcastle fans are looking forward to.
No, I'm certainly not looking forward to it either. I'm just dreading it, to be honest. As you've already mentioned, that their form compared to ours is just polar opposites at the minute. And as we'll get onto it, our record against Liverpool in Premier League just isn't great at all. And I am a little bit worried. I don't want it to be a complete hammering because that's the last thing our confidence levels need. But again, it's a nighttime game at Anfield under the lights. And you know what that place is reportedly supposed to be like on a nighttime. So we'll just have to try and brave the storm, I think.
Yeah, and Joe, it's probably going to be a case of braving the storm. They've got a few players out, but they've still got a lot that can hurt you. I mean, you look at the lineup that started at St. James's, I think it's only going to be McAllister and Matip who are out from those, and there's a chance McAllister's back. So it's going to be the strong 11 that they had at the beginning of the season. And I think if you look at our strong 11, it's possibly going to be the same as well, minus the goalkeeper, if you look at the players that we started with.
Yeah, probably. I mean, you've got Simicast and Robertson still out on the left-hand side, so that's somewhere you could look to exploit. I mean, assuming Miggy starts, he could have some joy on the counter-attack because I think they've been playing... I mean, last game they played Gomez there, and great player, not a natural left-back. So, that's something we can look to maybe target. But, they're looking at their midfield, even when they've got a few players out, you've got the likes of Harvey Elliott, Endo. Szoboszlai is fantastic, and I know he was rested against Burnley. I can only assume it was just to give him a bit of a break. I don't think he's got an injury or anything. So if he comes back into the team, which I'm expecting that he will, God, he's going to be a massive handful for the lads. But having said that, I think midfield is probably one of the options that we have that is looking not too bad. I mean, Miley's obviously coming to the squad. Physically is growing more confident with each game. Bruno is looking back to his best, and he's looking like that little bit of a shithouse that we've missed in the first half of the season. So, there are reasons to be optimistic, certainly. But, yeah, it's going to be definitely a tough night over at Anfield.
You mentioned the shithouser of the dark arts, Kris. It's something we've been missing this season, and it's been quite apparent in some of the games. The game last season at Anfield, the players got booed off the pitch from the home fans. Do we maybe need to bring some of that back to not grind out results, but to just get under the skin of some of these other teams, and it kind of helps us to play our game a little bit better?
I'm not sure, because that shithousen bit on the arse last year at Anfield. It obviously, we saw the scenes afterwards, like you say, who got booed off the field, and a lot of the players themselves were kicking off when Liverpool's, was it the winner that they scored in the late?
Yeah.
It was like
wasn't it?
98th minute.
97th, 90th minute.
Scored the winner. I think it was Nunes that was going wild and swearing at the likes of Tyndall and Eddie Howe and the coach and stuff and things like that. I just think it's more of game management sort of thing, Scott, rather than the dark arts. I think we just need to know when to push up the field, when to sit back. We've seen players recently just, and Fabian Schär is the one that springs to mind, that just goes on a little adventure in crucial moments of the game. We just need to be calm. We need to be intelligent, being at Anfield as well, because we don't have a great record at all. Daryl mentioned it, the record which I have against Liverpool. It's absolutely shocking. It's horrendous. When you're looking at head-to-head fixtures, and that's both at St James's and at Anfield as well. I think Anfield have won the majority. Liverpool have won the majority of them, a high percentage of them. So I just think we need to be clever, Scott. I think that's what it is. We're used to this high-pressure Newcastle United. Maybe we need to look at this game just taking the foot off the pedal a little bit. Whether or not Eddie Howe will do that is a different thing.
Yeah, Daryl, it's going to be interesting, because obviously there's arguably probably a more important game than next week in Sunderland away. I know Eddie Howe's not the type of person to rest a team for one, because it takes one game at a time. They probably haven't even thought of the Sunderland game if it was Eddie Howe saying it, but they probably have. But to shadow what Kris said, another thing that we have to be careful of, and we saw this against Nottingham Forest, that teams with pace can cause us massive troubles at the back. And I don't think there's a team with more pace than Liverpool at the moment. They seem to be a very fast team, especially their front line, and even going back to their wing backs. I mean, obviously we know Robinson's injured, but you've got Trent Alexander-Arnold who can run. Let's say, is it a case of maybe he's changing the game style and maybe sitting a bit deeper this? And I know the word "park the bus" was used in the press conference, and Eddie Howe said he wouldn't probably resort to that, but maybe it's not to that extreme. But do we have to be a bit more defensively minded in this one to try and get something out of this?
I think definitely we've got to be cautious going into this. And I mean, it's not just the front three and the wing backs that are full of pace. That their midfield three, even though it doesn't really have a natural defensive midfielder in it, or it didn't until Endo arrived, is extremely mobile and can get around the pitch. Our midfield three can get around the pitch, but it's not as defensively minded. We saw that against Nottingham Forest, and we got exposed by that, because Morgan Gibbs-White had free roam of that game in the second half and controlled it all. And he did the job on Bruno in the first half to put the pressure on him and try and break us down there. It's going to be a case of somebody needs to step up to do that on Monday night. We're going to need somebody who's going to be in there to be that defensive-minded player, to stick in there to help protect the back four when these Liverpool transitions break and we get absolutely counted on. I think it's going to be a case of we need to be sitting and looking to counter Liverpool. We've already mentioned their issues at left back. That's an area we're going to need to target. And I think maybe not necessarily with Miggy. I think there could well be a change in this game for that. And it could be a case of maybe even Anthony Gordon swapping over to the right-hand side. And the interesting thing for me for this game is we've now had the best part of the week off. And it was mentioned by a couple of the players post Nottingham Forest that we're actually going to have a chance to do some proper tactical drills and training this week where we haven't really had that opportunity with the way the schedule's been since like November.
That could
And we
come
sort
and bite you on the arse, Daryl, couldn't it?
well,
We'll
you
get a
want
week
to
to do
clip it.
tactical work.
Yeah, you
Let's
want
see
to
what the
clip it
result
and
is.
maybe save that one, like. But I mean, I'm going out on a limb by saying it, but we saw a little uplift after we had the international break in November. There was a little uplift where we came back from that and we had a couple of good performances, and we then burnt out again after like 2 or 3 games. So it'll be interesting to see how we get on this week. And again, it's important to know as we look ahead even further to the game after, where we're going to have the best part of 5 days to work on that as well. But it's going to be tough. And if I can, you mentioned our record against Liverpool. I've got the stat here at Anfield. It's played 28, won once, drawn 5, and lost 22. And the one that we won was our first ever visit to Anfield in the Premier League. And that was with Kevin Keegan and Andy Cole and everybody playing in that game. But yeah, I mean, but yeah, I mean, it doesn't look great, but hey, who knows?
It's just numbers on paper. You can only be as
That's
good
The thing
as
is,
the last
though,
game
if you look over the years, we've came close and we've
Very
competed in
close.
quite a few of them.
So
And it's
many
just
many
it comes
times,
back to
yeah.
that decision making again, where it's like we saw last season. I know I mentioned it again, that it's just crucial key moments of the game where we just do something silly, and no
Well,
matter what minute of the game, Liverpool's always up for it.
Yeah, to touch on that, Chris. So I think there has been some criticism, especially late game management. I mean, last season Anfield was a good example of that, where I think it was Anderson who crossed it into the box in like the 90-something minute instead of just holding it in the corner. And we've had that a few times. Miggy Almiron against Chelsea recently is another good example. And instead of going to the corner, he took a shot. It's about seeing these games out and being mature. I mean, I appreciate wanting to go ahead and either extend the lead or to regain the lead, whatever the situation is. But I think there's times where you have to look at the game and say, no, like, let's just take what we have. But it just comes with experience.
It does. Joe, sticking with you, mate, Eddie Howe mentioned in his presser, he spoke a lot about Joe Linton and the importance of Joe Linton in the side and the type of person he is and the run he is. And, we've seen him come off the bench against Nottingham Forest. We probably expect him to start against Liverpool. We talked about needing that defensive person in our midfield. Is it a case for Joe Linton coming in that he plays up alongside Bruno and he leave Longstaff back? Or would you rather we maybe try Joe Linton on the left where he's arguably a better player and then move Gordon over to the right and see how that works in terms of, keeping the defensive-minded players, in the middle and then allowing Joe Linton to kind of run right up and down that left-hand side and maybe provide a bit of protection to Dan Burn or Livramento, whoever starts on that left back hand side. What would you do?
Well, what I would do, I think we'll probably see Joe Linton come back on the left-hand side, and probably have Sean Longstaff back on the right. I mean, Eddie Howe is nothing if not quite consistent in likes of particular system, so I can't imagine he changed that quite a lot. I mean, Joe Linton, what we have missed besides physicality, like you say, is that player who can drive the ball forward. Willock is probably the best one that we have at the club, and he's obviously missing. But Joe Linton's very good at doing that also, and I think that's what we need, and that's what we've been missing quite a lot. As good as the likes of Miley has done, I think what he's quite good at is being that sort of like that final third of the pitch and finding those balls, key passes. But in terms of the physicality and running, we're going to definitely need Joe Linton in this game. Again, go back into like Szoboszlai. He seems like quite a physical player as well. We're going to need to match up on that. I would say Joe Linton on the left hand side. You're going to have Bruno in this sort of 6 holding role, then Longstaff out on the right hand side. Dan Burn, if he does start, is a worry for the pace. Like we've said, it all depends on whether Eddie Howe's going to go for that full gung ho heavy metal football attack and commit players forward, or whether we'll see a bit more of a rigid defensive display and a bit more of a counter attack. That's what So like I say, that's what I would do. I think it's going to be fairly predictable in terms of how he lines up if he's got the personnel available.
Yeah, Kris. Obviously, there's been a lot of talk this week about the back four. The amount of goals that we're conceding, amount of shots we're conceding, even compared to last season. you know, a lot of people talk about Dan Burn going up against pacey players, but you know, short memories that Dan Burn went up against Mbappe and didn't do too badly. Up against the likes of Thiago and didn't do not Thiago. What was he called? The other, I can't remember his name. For PSG,
Dembele.
Dembele. That's it. Yeah,
Dembele.
and didn't do too badly. Is it a case more of fatigue with Dan Burn, or do you think it's more just a case of he just cannot play against these pacey players, and we need someone like Tino Livramento to maybe take his place and give a bit more solid.
Do you want my honest opinion or what people want to hear?
That's it.
Honest,
whatever you want to give us, Kris.
Honest opinion, I think we all agreed last season, and the majority of fans agreed last season, that Eddie Howe had these players overperforming. I think we're probably seeing some of the players to the standard that they probably are truly now. And whether or not we're seeing that because of the amount of minutes that they've played, the lack of rotation, whatever it may be, I don't think we can put Dan Burns down to fatigue because he's only just came back from injury. He's not one of the players that's constantly been playing in that starting 11. I'm not a hater of Dan Burn, but I think his limitations as a defender are clear to see, and even more so in attacking form as well. I think in his absence, we've seen what we can have on the left-hand side with Tino playing there. It's very similar to what we get from Trippier on the right-hand side. It's Tino all day for me. Like, I think if there's an option between Tino and Dan Burn at left-back, it's Tino all day long. I don't even think there's a discussion from my end. A lot of people will disagree with that, and they'll turn around and say we can't jump on Dan Burn's back because of everything which he's done for the football.
Because he's so tall, that's why you can jump
exactly, very, very high, like very high to jump on there. But for everything he's done at the club, how well of a season he had, I think if we're looking at this moment right now, where we are, Tino's the better player, both defensively and attacking minded as well.
I think as well, given the fact that Jamal Lascelles is injured, you've probably got to keep Dan Burn more as a backup for your two centre backs than to be playing on the left when you've got Tino and arguably Lewis Hall, who can both play on the left. And if you really need to, you can move Trippier over there and bring on Emil Kraft or Tino on the right if he didn't play. Like, we've got a lot of options on the left and right, where due to injuries, probably we haven't got that much cover at centre back at the moment, unless you want to be playing Paul Dummett, which I don't know, Kris. I don't know how you would feel
play him
about that.
No comment.
I think with Dan Burn though, if you look at the system that we played, especially last season, a lot of the left hand side consisted of that interchange between Willock and Joe Linton, which we've not seen at all, and I think that allowed Joe Linton to maybe be a little bit more defensive and help Dan Burn out. We also didn't see our centre backs going for these mazy runs as much as we did this season. I can think of at least one of the Forest goals where Dan Burn, I think it was that first one really, we were caught out because I'm pretty sure, was it Botman or Share? One of them just went on a
Fabian on his little one there again,
went off. And you know what? That's fine to an extent, but the problem is we don't have the defensive shape at the minute to cover for that. And so I think whilst fatigue for Dan Burn isn't an issue, I think fatigue for the rest of the players can be, but also we need to. I just don't think our back four has been solid like they were like last season. I just don't think they played enough with each other to be switched on and know exactly where they all are. And I think that's one of the big problems.
Yeah. Daryl, mate, up top, is it just a case of a flip of the coin who starts between Isak and Wilson, or do you think there's kind of method to however it's selected when Eddie Howe does these changes?
Well, I'm trying to think how he made that decision last season. I think it was Wilson was injured by that point when we played Liverpool at Anfield, and sort of Isak's debut was forced, and it was quite sudden and a bit of a surprise that he started at the game at Anfield last season. However,
he
got two goals on the back of that.
Yes,
two legitimate goals on the back of that. So you have to wonder if that's the case, then maybe that's going to swing it in his favour to start on Monday night. I know Callum Wilson will be chomping at the bit, but it's been plain to see that in the past, when they've both been fit, that's been beneficial to everybody, for themselves as individuals, for the team, and obviously for us as well, because they've pushed each other on, and their performances and their work rate, and that's all it's all been better for it. I think we've seen that in other positions as well. I think Miguel Almiron really misses Jacob Murphy pushing him for a starting place as well. So we've seen a dip in form from him because he hasn't really got anybody to push him in case he might lose his place to the likes of a Jacob Murphy. And if I may just go back to the Dan Burn situation at left back, for me, I think if we play Dan Burn, he then requires more protection from the left winger. Whereas if we play Tino, he has the pace to deal with whoever it is that Liverpool decide to play on that side, whereas Dan Burn doesn't. So might not necessarily need as much protection. He may just need an extra body in there just to help him deal with numbers. So that'll be the interesting thing for me. And for me, on that point alone, would make me want to pick Tino over Dan Burn. But yeah, going back to up top, I think it'll probably be Isak again, and then Wilson to come off the bench.
I think it all depends on the way Eddie Howe's going to set the lads out, though, Daryl. I think if we're looking at a more, if you're looking at hitting on the break, then yes, Isak's going to be the one to do that and get you up the field quicker than what Callum Wilson will do. If you're looking at feeding off scraps, where it's going to be, we're just going to try and get the ball up the field as quickly as possible, basically by lumping it up there. It's going to be Wilson, because Wilson's the one that can hold onto the ball that little bit longer and bring the rest of the lads into play. I don't know. Newcastle last season would go for it. We would go for it. Newcastle this season, I think we'd snatch the hand off for a point. And I think it might be a more cautious approach to this one, which means for me, if Wilson's fit, Wilson starts.
It's not outside the realms of possibility for the both to start with Isak on the left-hand side.
We've seen it recently.
That's true.
Especially if, Gordon, we've seen him come off a few times with a few little, slight knocks. Miggy Almiron was hooked pretty early on in the second half. There's every chance that he might look to give one of them a rest, for one reason or another. So, and I think with Callum Wilson being back as well, fit, it's another opportunity to bring in a fresh body and to give one of the lads who's played so much a rest. So yeah, it's possible. I still don't quite see it happening. I still reckon that we'll probably see a front three of Gordon, Isak, and Miggy. But you never know. It could happen.
I think what we'll have to remember as well here is what Daryl mentioned at the start there. This is 7 days preparation, which we've had now. 7 days, including recovery for the lads as well. So the lads have been used to playing Tuesday, Saturday, Wednesday, Sunday, whenever it may be recently. So this is the first time in a long time where they've had this without that international break, where a lot of the lads go away anyway. So hopefully fatigue won't be a huge issue on this one like it has been recently. I was a little bit worried with Gordon going in this one, because Gordon has looked knackered the first 15, 20 minutes of the last couple of games. He'll be well up for this one, with it being Liverpool as well.
Yeah.
So hopefully the 7 days have been enough rest for the lads. And hopefully they're not too downbeat either, because there've been a couple of horrendous results back. I'm saying horrendous. In fact, it is horrendous.
Unexpected.
Horrendous, I think that's the perfect word to use. Yeah.
The bad results. Especially
it's
when
bad performances. The results you can take, but the performances have been pretty
It's when we're going in these running games, and we probably highlighted at these games and thought this is where we're going to pick up points against the likes of Luton and Forest as well, and we'll lose both of those games, and the lads would have felt it as well. So they'll want a point to prove. They probably didn't want that to come up against Liverpool, mind. But these are the cards that were being dealt, so let's just see what happens.
Yeah.
Yes, we will see what happens indeed. Well, before we see what happens, we're going to predict what we think is going to happen, and we'll come to our score predictions right now. Joe, mate, I'm going to pick on you first this week.
Yeah.
What's your score prediction for this one? Because you're wearing that Adidas jacket, mate.
Oh, thanks. Honestly, we've spoken about the fact that we've finally had a chance to prepare tactically, and deal with these specific opponent rather than just having these cool down sessions and stuff. And I genuinely think that can't be underestimated. And I think it could see a massive improvement in our performance. And so I'm actually weirdly optimistic about this for us going to Anfield. And I'm going to predict us to draw 1-1. And I'll give you goal scorers. I'm going to say Isak and Salah for the goals.
That'll do my FPL wonders. Just bench Dubravka this week. Kris, mate, let's come to you next. What's your prediction?
I think
Come on,
everybody knows
Kris,
which way
you
I'm going to
know.
go. I think everybody knows it.
Come on. Go
I,
on.
5-0 win.
I can't see it. I can't see anything other than a defeat. And yes, we've had an extra few days to prepare, but we can't look at our away form and think that we're
Yeah.
gonna get 3 points. Yeah, we can't. And the previous record that we've got at Anfield as well. I would love to sit here. And last season, if I'd done this last season, I'd probably say, "Oh, we'll get all 3 points."
Yeah.
It's different this
Should've.
year. It feels different this year. It feels like we're chasing the pack right now. And I think Liverpool, they're top of the table and they want to stay there. It's at Anfield, the first day of the new year. And I'm sorry, but I think we'll be looking at 2-3-0.
Mm.
Sorry, everybody.
Boo.
Sorry.
Boo.
Happy New Year.
You're so
Daryl.
negative, Chris.
Daryl.
I know. Like, do you know what it is? It's
Unfortunately.
like I know people will say, "Oh, they're negative." Like, look at what the lads have done over the last 2 years and blah blah blah. I get it. But
Yeah.
look how it is right now. Like, honestly, I get it,
Hey,
and I
man.
love these lads to bits. Every single one of them, I love them because of what they've done, getting Champions League football. And I would love to be wrong. I would love to be completely wrong, and that even to get a draw, I would love that. I'd take your hand and snatch it right over right now. But I can't say it. I would love to say I can, but I
Hey.
can't.
I don't think it's being negative. I think it's more being
No,
realistic.
no.
I think
Yeah.
you've got to look at it from take your Newcastle hat off and look at it from the outside and just look at the numbers. And I don't think any bookies are going to have us down as favourites to win. I don't think any pundit's going to choose us to win. I think, if we do win as well, it's probably not going to be. It'd be going to be more of a shock than anything else. And I think even to us, based on what our recent performance has been. So yes, I think it's although it can be perceived as negativity, it's actually more being realistic, and maybe it's not just being let's blow smoke up our asses and think we're mint. Daryl, mate, on that, please predict a 3-0 victory. No, what's your prediction, mate?
What to Liverpool, you mean? No, I'm actually totally in agreement with Kris here, and I really, I just can't say it, unfortunately. I would love it, don't get us wrong, as we all would, but I'm going to go with a 2-1 home win. I'm going to go for a repeat scoreline of last season. I still think he's actually probably got it in him to score a goal just because of the way he can get through teams. But again, I think it'll be down to Liverpool. And again, do you know what it is? The thing I'm looking forward to or hoping for the most is actually just an improved level of performance away from home, because we've all seen how it's been recently. And I just want to see a little bit of an improvement. I want to see an improvement. I want to see us putting a bit more of a fight and be a bit more smart in the game and manage the situations better. And like I say, I think it'll be a home win. Like you say, that record down there it just doesn't bode any good at the time being. So yeah, 2-1 to Liverpool.
And if it is a defeat, right? Fair enough. Like
Yeah,
if we
no
deserve to
meltdowns.
get beat, fair enough,
No
right?
meltdowns.
I just don't want to see defensive mistakes which lead to conceding goals, and we've seen it quite a few times recently. Take out the equation, and we'll get beat by great forward-thinking play by Liverpool. Then fair enough. Fair enough. I'll take
A couple
it
of
all day long.
worldies.
Yeah, like
A couple of 40-yard screamers. Kind of defend against them.
It's when we're gifting goals, which I hate it. I absolutely hate it, and we've seen it far too often, and it's very uncharacteristic from our lads. What we have seen, and it's creeping in. We've seen it in previous seasons, apart from the last two. It's starting to get there again now. We need to cut that out completely, and hopefully the last 7 days, being able to train and prepare for this one, will change that.
Well, fingers crossed. I mean, to give you my prediction before we end this, I've had a 2-1 victory in my head all day, and I don't know why. It's just something that I've been thinking of. But I do think it's going to be a tough game. I'm with Joe, though. I think we might nick a point. But I'm going to go 0-0, and I think it's going to be backs against the wall, a dominant Liverpool performance. But I think our defence is going to maybe step up. I think Eddie Howe's going to say to them, look, you lads have really dropped the ball the past few weeks. He's worked with them this week on how to defend, and well, not on how to defend, but on what he wants from them. And I think they'll give him what he wants. I think we're going to go 0-0, but it's going to be, I don't think we'll even have a shot on target for the whole game. I think it's going to be all Liverpool.
Well, you think it's going to be like another Milan away game?
It's going to be a horrible game to watch. Yeah, I think it'll be like Milan away. So yeah, but I think we'll nick a point out of it, which I'll take that on New Year's Day. Who
You
wouldn't?
know what it is? I would love for nothing more than our lads get booed off the field again at Anfield, but come
Oh, yeah.
away with a point or 3. I would absolutely love it.
Agreed.
Boo us off
100%.
that field as much as you want, as long as we've got some points in our pockets.
Aye.
Absolutely. Well, what do you think the score is going to be? Let us know in the comments below. Is there anything that we've missed out as well? Let us know below in the comments. And if you like this video, scroll down from it and hit the little thumbs up. While you are there, if you hit the subscribe button, you will see all of our videos slowly start to appear on your YouTube feed if the YouTube algorithm wants to show them to you. And if you want to be notified when new videos go live, hit the little notification bell and you will get a little pop-up on your phone or whatever it is you watch YouTube on when we do post new content. If you want to go one step further, we do have a membership program. It's $2.99 a month. That gets you early access to some videos like this, as well as access to the Telegram group and the Discord server. And yeah, does anybody want to add anything before we wrap this one up, boys?
I will. And first of all, I want to say welcome back, Scott. You've been a bit of big miss here on the previews and that. So it's good to see you back in your chair in there in Amsterdam. And I'd also
Always
like
been in the
to,
chair.
well, that's it. And I think Kris will like us for doing this, but I just want to thank everybody who's been part of the channel this year, all the members, all the subscribers. Thank you very much for all of your support. Can't do it without you. And we look forward to seeing you in the new year.
There you go.
And
what
just to
Daryl
add
said.
one more thing at the
Exactly.
end. Good luck to Kris Dobie in the darts.
Where are you?
I think he plays Cross next. I think I saw Cross got through this morning. So
I think, doesn't he play on New Year? He plays on New Year's Day as well. I hope it's not on the night time because I'll be stuck
let's hope he
between
can
that and watching.
Championship to the Stadium of Light with
Where
the 6th. Anyway, boys, thanks very much for joining us. I hope you all have a banging new year. Or if you don't, I hope you have a nice one.
I'll be at work, so there you go.
Oh, Daryl's on the night train.
You love the train, so
I hope Eddie Howe has a good New Year. I'll tell you that.
I'll tell you
Well,
what,
it's a good New Year's Day. But thank you all for watching or listening or whatever you're consuming this podcast through. We will see you all in the next one. Have a nice New Year, everybody. Ta-da.
Bye.
Cheers, everyone.